you don't have to be fearful of how complicated you think that automating is. It's really not that hard to get started. I wish I would have had a guide like this when I was getting started. And you can create your first test and then you use that. Like you can go to different websites and you can practice automating those websites, or maybe you're working as a manual tester and you want to get more familiar with it. You can start automating some of the sites that you test. I wanted to provide you with a quick and easy guide for getting started with Selenium WebDriver and Java. And this is definitely focused for people who have not done much automation before and they're looking to get started. Maybe if you've been doing manual testing for a long time and you're looking to transition or start dabbling in automation and you're not sure where to get started, this guide will definitely help you with Selenium WebDriver using Java. So let's get started. Let's not waste any time. All right, so I have up my Chrome browser and I have up IntelliJ. So you'll need an IDE to be able to write your code. I use IntelliJ, but you can use Maven, for instance, and there's many other IDEs that you can use. But I prefer using IntelliJ from JetBrains. So you're also going to need a Java JDK installed, and I can make a video for that, and I'll link it to this one. But this is under the assumption that you might already have a JDK installed. So let's get started. We're going to create a new project, and let's call this project getting started with Selenium in Java. Okay. And so you need to so we're going to be using the build system of Maven, and we'll go through that as we set this up. And the JDK that I'm using, the Java Development Kit, is the Oracle Open JDK version 20, and you choose it from here. And I'm going to click on create in this corner right here. And now IntelliJ already does all the setup for me that I need to get started. It creates my pom.xml file. The pom.xml file is required for Maven. Maven handles like all your packages that you're gonna need to get started. We could probably go into a more comprehensive guide about what Maven is at a later date, but the most important part right now is to get you up and running using Selenium WebDriver. We're not going to focus on all the little ins and outs and details, because once you get started and you see your first test pass, that's the first win, and that's what's going to motivate you to keep. So let's move this over a bit so we can see our code. All right, so now let's get started by setting up our Maven POM file so we can download all of the packages that we need in order to be able to get started. So we're going to open up this POM file, and inside of Maven, inside of the POM file, you're going to see it looks like this. What we're going to do, I'm going to minimize this right now so we can see a better view of the code. And now we have to go to the Maven repository website so we can get all the code that we need. So we're going to go here. We're going to type in mvn repository.com. And that's going to take us to a list of a lot of Maven packages that have been created. But we're gonna look for a few in particular. We're gonna look for, let's start off with Selenium, and we're going to take Selenium Java. We're gonna take Selenium API. You click on it. Oops, I think I made a small mistake. Click on this one, and then we can take the latest version. We're gonna copy this, copy that dependency, and inside of our pom.xml file, we're going to create a new line. We're gonna call it, we're gonna say dependencies, and we're gonna paste that first Maven dependency that we just copied. Now we're gonna go back on the MVN repository site, go back one more time, and we're going to copy the Selenium API. Copy the same version that we got for the Java one, and we're gonna paste it here. So now we have our Selenium packages inside of our POM file. We're going to search for testng. Testng is what's going to allow us to be able to run our tests. There's other ways of doing it. You can do it through JUnit, anything else, but I particularly like to use testng. It is to me, it's the easiest one and the fastest way to get started, and it is the most customizable one. So let's click on testng. And we're going to, let's just go with the latest one because we're learning here. So let's copy to the clipboard. And we're going to paste. So now we have testng. And what we're doing here, it's not meant to be used in a production environment. It's meant for us to get up and running so we can start learning automation. And once we get more comfortable in automation, then we can actually use that in a professional environment. So now we have our Selenium, we have our testng, and there is one more that I would highly recommend in order to get started to make your life a whole lot easier, and that would be what we call the WebDriver Manager. So what I normally do is I just do a Google search because the person who created it, her name is Bonnie Garcia. So I'll do a Google search for Bonnie Garcia, space, and then I type in WebDriver Manager, and I'll link it. I'll link it to I'll put a link in the description to the Java version of the WebDriver Manager by Bonnie Garcia. It's super useful tool. So here we are on the GitHub, and we're going to scroll down, and we're going to find the Maven code for this. Where is it? Okay, let's see, documentation moved here. All right, so okay, so he has a website now, bonniegarcia.dev/WebDriver Manager. So here's what we need right here. We need this under this setup part. We need to copy that, and we can do a video where we go in depth about what the WebDriver Manager is, why it's so useful, why it's so powerful. But for this purpose, we need to get the WebDriver Manager so we don't have to do a lot of manual maintenance on our automation code. Like when it just comes out, when it comes to the maintenance of they call them binaries, where you say, this is the Chrome driver, this is our Firefox driver, this is our Microsoft Edge driver or Internet Explorer driver. So this WebDriver Manager handles all of that maintenance for you. And that's why it is a WebDriver Manager. So we have that. We have all of our necessary dependencies inside of our POM file to get started. And now we go to, let's expand this a little bit so we can have a better view of it. And if you can see this little icon right here for load Maven changes, let's click on that. And when you do that, it's going to download all the dependencies that we just put into our Maven. And it's going to bring in like the Selenium Java. It's going to bring in the Selenium API, and it's going to bring in the TestNG and the WebDriver Manager. Now you can see in that bottom bar right here, it's doing all the downloading of everything that it needs in order for this to successfully work. These versions right here, they should change from red to white now. Now we see here downloading dependencies, and it's a check mark for everything is complete. So our POM file is completed and we can get started. I'm going to expand this project section right here. And I typically do my test for automation inside of the test folder right here, not inside the main folder. The main folder is what I would use if I was, let's say, implementing a framework for automation, or if someone is a software engineer and they're building their software, the test folders where they would run their unit tests and things like that. But for me, when I'm doing automation, I have all of my actual testing code, or like my automation testing code for like going through a website or anything in that instance, inside of my test folder. So inside the test folder, there's a folder called Java, and it kind of follows the same structure as it does for the main. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to close out this main one because I'm not going to be using that. I'm going to, in here inside this folder called Java, the first thing I normally do is I'm going to create a new package, and I'm going to call that test cases. And as a reminder, this is a very basic introduction into getting started with automation in Java. So you can get more comfortable with it and you can get started. Like we're not doing anything comprehensive, anything complicated. We just want to do a basic automation setup. So here I'm going to say new class, and I'm going to call that class, let's say, Amazon homepage, popular website, Amazon, or let's say Amazon search product test. Let's say Amazon search product test. So now we can add it to the Git. That's fine. So I have it set up on mine. I have Git set up on mine, but you might not have it on yours, so you don't have to worry about that. We can do a whole nother video on like Git. So here we are. We have our package. We're inside of our test cases package, and we have a public class for Amazon search product test. Okay. We're not getting into all the details about Java and classes and everything like that. We just want to get our automation up and running so we can have our first win in automation. Then we can continue to learn more about the structure and everything like that. But for now, we just want to get a passing automated test. Okay. So the first thing that we're going to do, we are going to use documentation for the WebDriver manager so we can actually get our driver created properly. So let's look for the documentation. Let's see, where do we want to go to? Let's go to, right. So what we want to do is we want to go before all. Let's copy this code right here. So the first thing we're going to do is, and we're going to type it out. We're not going to copy and paste the code. First, we want to set up our web driver and name that driver. And we're going to import the class of WebDriver, and that's going to import from Selenium. Right? So, and that's what's going to be controlling our navigating through the browser. So the next thing that we need to do, based on the documentation from Bonnie Garcia's WebDriver manager, we want to say before the class. So, and in his documentation, he's using JUnit, but we're using testng. So you might see a little difference between his before all and my before class. What I'm saying is before the class runs, I want to, before anything in the class runs, I want to set up the WebDriver manager. So we say before all or before class, and we're going to say static void setup class. Let's give it a better name actually. Let's set up class. Let's say setup web driver. All right. And my little OCD, I'm going to move that here. And we're going to say web driver manager dot from driver dot setup. And that's it for this part. Make sure you close with a semicolon. Now that part is set up. So now we don't have to worry about downloading all of the binaries for Chrome driver, and we can always set up on. So what I'll do is in another video, you can set up like how we can choose between Firefox, Microsoft Edge, etc. But for this video, we're just going to use Chrome just so we can actually automate searching a product on Amazon. So we say now, we're going to say, we're going to do it this way. We're going to say test. We're just going to go straight into the test, right? And we're going to say void, and we're going to say search product on Amazon. Simple as that. So we have our test method called search product on Amazon. And we're going to say driver dot, or no, driver equals new from driver. And the reason in the documentation they put it inside of before each, which we can, in our case, we would put it in a before method, is every time because there can be multiple tests inside of this class. So in order not to have to write this code right here every single time, then you would want to have it in a before each or in a before method where every time a new test is going to run, it's going to execute this code. But just for the sake of simplicity, we're just gonna have this one test right now. We're going to have this driver equals new, and then we can refactor it later on where we can add multiple tests, and we can have that before method where it will always start up that driver for us. But for now, we're here and we're good to go. So we say driver was new from driver, and we're going to say driver dot get. We're going to say go to http www.amazon.com. And let's stop right here right now, and we're going to just run it because I believe the best way to get that feeling of what we're doing actually matters and it's working is to see something pass. So let's find out if it's going to pass, and if it doesn't, we'll fix it, and if it does, we'll keep going. If it does pass, we'll just keep going. Okay, so let's give it a run, and we're going to press the green play button for run Amazon search product test, our package. And it's going. Let's see what happens. it should open up a Chrome browser for us. There it goes, our Chrome browser on the Amazon homepage. And just like that, in just a matter of minutes, we were able to automate using Selenium WebDriver and Java to open up the Amazon homepage. Now let's push our test to two more steps. We're going to search for a product, and then we're going to click on that and click on the first product. Okay, so now let's say we go to, and like I said, this is a very basic test. We're not doing anything complicated here. So we're going to, and I created a video for how I choose locators. So I'm going to link that in, I'll link that in the description, and there's going to be a little card that you can click on to get to that video. But that'll definitely help you with having the right selectors. So I'm gonna open up the from developer tools to find the selector that I would use for the search box. And here we go. We have an easy one right here. ID 2-tab search text box. I'm gonna copy this. Make sure that it's unique on the pages. Make this a little bigger. All right. So now you can see this a little better. So there's one of two on the page. What is the second one? Okay, the input box. Okay, great. So we're gonna search, we're gonna do this. We're gonna say very basic driver dot find element, and we're gonna say by dot ID. And then we're going to put ID that we're searching for. And we're going to say send keys. And what products should we search for? How about we search for red hats, like the one that I'm wearing right now. We're searching for red hats. And then the next thing that we want to do, I mean, we could press the enter button, or we can just search, we can click the search icon here. So let's find the ID for that search icon, and here we go. Simple enough. We're going to copy that ID. And the same thing that we just did right here, we're going to say driver.find element and by.id. And then instead of send keys, we're just going to do a simple click. Let me close this right here so you can just have a better view of this, right? So now we are searching for red hats, and we're clicking the nav search submit button. So now we're going to do this manually. We're going to type in red hat. And as you can see, there's still some manual testing, quote unquote, involved. And because in order to automate it, you have to test it manually at some point. But why do you want to keep testing the same thing manually over and over and over again? So now we have our product search results for red hat. And now let's just click on this first product. So what we're going to do, we're going to inspect it. Let's expand this right here so we can see what we're looking for. Now, what can we find to click on this red hat? So let's start from, and you can get a way more comprehensive way of searching for selectors through the video that I created about choosing good selectors and why it's so important. But let's just do the basic. Let's say we do, we're going to do CSS selector. We're going to say img.s image. And now there's a bunch of them on the page. But now if we make it more specific, we're going to say, let's use a data component type attribute. There's nothing else. And that's going to be for, and don't let this part intimidate you. If you think choosing selectors and stuff, definitely watch the video that I created where it's going to put your mind at ease and it's going to help you how to choose right selectors. But just for the purpose of this right here, we want to choose the product. So, and you can even copy the selector. I'll make this repository available for you so you can see, like, use my selector. As long as you can actually get this automation going, you can copy my selectors and you can see how it works. And now we're clicking. So now let's click on this first product. And here we are. And the last thing that we can do, we can just add a little bit of validation, right? So we can do, let's say, assert dot assert equals. So what we're saying is I'm going to pass in an expected condition, and then we're going to pass in the actual condition. All right. So what should we do? We want to, what is our expected? Our expected should be that there is a product title on the page. We're going to do page one, or maybe we can do something even better because I like this product title ID. Let's see if it's the only one on the page, and it is. So we're going to say, so instead of doing assert equals, because assert equals is like this can be any. So let me move this up. This can be any product, right? So we're not always going to find the same text. So what we're going to do is we're going to say assert true that driver dot find element by the ID that we just saw for the product title is displayed. Simple as that. So we're just saying that make sure that this right here is displayed on the page. And if it is, then this passes. So let's give it one more run. So right now what we're doing is we're going through Amazon.com. We're entering inside of the search box, red hats, and then we're clicking on the search icon, the little magnifying glass, and then we're going to click on the first product image, and then we're going to verify that the product title is displayed, this right here. So let's give it another run and let's see what happens. All right, so it opens up our browser, it searches for Red Hat, clicks on the first one, and then it verifies that it found the title on the page. So our test worked. Look at that. In just a few minutes, we have a working test. And now you can continue to build more tests. So one quick thing that I want to do as well is add that we're gonna add this just so you don't end up having a lot of Chrome drivers open. We're gonna say after method, and we're going to say void tear down. It's what they have in their after each over here. We're say after method. We're going to, and this is for us to have good maintenance and clean up our driver. We're going to say driver dot quit. And that way, every time the test finish running, it's going to close our browser and it's not going to leave any open resources for the Chrome driver on our computer. So there we go. And just for the sake, we already seen it run, but just so we can see the browser close as well, let's run it one more time so we can have that feeling of we actually created a successful automation test As basic as you might think it is, if this is your first time automating, you successfully create an automated test and then you can build upon that. So let's give it a run. One last time. So it's going to open our browser. In the search box, Red Hat. I'm going to click on the first product. And it's going to verify that it's showing. And this would be a basic test that would be ran daily just to make sure that the site is working, that the search is working, that the products are loading, and that you can actually get to a product information page. And then there's tons and tons of tests that you can add up onto this. So there we go. So that was a quick video on setting up Selenium WebDriver through Java and how you can get started with creating a basic test. You don't have to be fearful of how complicated you think that automating is. It's really not that hard to get started. I wish I would have had a guide like this when I was getting started. And you can create your first test and then you use that. Like you can go to different websites and you can practice automating those websites, or maybe you're working as a manual tester and you want to get more familiar with it. You can start automating some of the sites that you test. And like, let's say your company doesn't want you to quote unquote automate, you can learn it on your own, and you like, there's no difference between you doing it manually and you automating. You might still have to do some manual checks because, let's say, for aesthetics purposes maybe, but to make sure that the most important part is working the functionality, you can start automating your own tests, and that'll just give you more experience, and it'll give you a more open, it'll give you more confidence in that the functionality is working while you continue to learn and focus on other things. So that being said, that was just a quick video on how to get started in automation. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave me a comment. And on your way out, please like the video, subscribe to the channel. I will be doing another video on the same thing, but this time in Python. So if you're interested in Python, look forward to that video coming soon.
If you enjoyed the fascinating information shared in this video and you want more, be sure to hit the subscribe button to Tech Coach Ralph to be notified for new videos.